Welcome. This video that we've created is to talk about your senior college packet. So I'm Mrs. Kim Ketch. I'm the school counselor for students with last names A through K. And I'll let Ms. Martell
I'm
introduce
Ms.
yourself.
Martell. I'm school counselor for students with last names that start with L through Z.
Okay, so what we're going to do is go through what your senior college packet is and what it involves. So this whole video is to help you navigate the whole college application process. And just so you know, you're not going to be left on your own after this. I promise we're here to help. So you'll be able to make appointments to follow up and to talk to us about it as well. These folders, after this video, you're going to want to come to guidance and ask Mrs. St. Louis or one of us for your senior college packet folder. It will look like this, and some things we'll go over on the inside. Virtual students, please contact me or Ms. Martell through email so we can connect and figure out how we can get you a hard copy of this packet so we can work with you to get your needs met there. So I think what we're going to do is just go ahead and go through the packet. So we're going to be starting on the left-hand side of the packet. Me and Miss Martell are going to just kind of talk a little bit about what this involves. So you want to start, Miss Martell?
Yep, and I'm gonna share the screen real quick and then we'll. Okay, so the packet is up and you should be able to see that would be the first page on the left side of your packet once you get your folder. And then on the first page, all we need you to really do is write your name. We don't need your mailing address because this is in the system. And then if you can list below the colleges you are thinking of applying for and the majors. Don't stress out about this piece too much. This is just an idea at this given moment of what you're thinking. If you change your mind or add schools, we don't need you to come back and add to this form. Just fill it out right now for us. And then the second page of your senior packet is, it's like having an academic resume, but we're having you fill it out on this sheet. We need to know everything about you that we may want to include in your recommendation letter that isn't covered on your transcript. So over the last 4 years, anything that you've done in regard to work experience, that's like paid jobs, and below there's unpaid, like community service and volunteer experience and stuff like that. Make sure you're putting when you did that and where. School and club activities, any other activities that you were involved in. If you were in club or activities outside of school, you should list it there as well. Like if you're a Boy Scout or any outside clubs. And then honors and awards, again, in and outside of school, you can list honor roll there as well. And then any kind of visual arts, music, theater, band should go in the next section. Publications, we don't have a newspaper, but if you did something outside of school or you helped with our yearbook, you could list it there. And then athletics, athletics through the school and outside of the school. If you did like club teams and travel teams, you should list it there. Don't forget to put if you got your letter, varsity letter, or if you captained a team. And then just as important is the last section about hobbies or interests, what you like or enjoy. And then the last page that you need to fill out for yourself, the third page in your packet, please answer these questions about yourself. Don't worry about like complete sentences. We're not grading this. We just want you to answer. You can bullet if bullets work better for you, but we want you to describe your career and college goals. What are you hoping to do? And then describe the personal qualities that you have that you think are most important to success in college. And then what do you think your academic strengths and talents are? And then please describe activities that you enjoy inside and outside of school. And I know it's tough to talk and brag about yourself, but what do you like best about yourself and what are you most proud of? Those are very important points for us to know as well. And then what information would you like me to include in your recommendation? So this is your opportunity to tell us if there's something you want explained in your recommendation letter. Um, if you had, if your transcript looks great, but you had one rough semester and the reason for that was you broke a leg or you had anxiety throughout high school that you had to overcome, any kind of situation you want us to highlight, we can do so there if you share it by answering this question. If you do put it down, we're going to assume that it's okay to write about if we feel that it's appropriate to include in your letter. The reason we ask you all these things is because we want a well-rounded recommendation from different perspectives. So those 3 sheets are what you need to fill out, and Mrs. Ketch is going to talk about the other sheets that need to come back as well.
Excellent. So the next sheet that we'll talk about is the parent brag sheet. And a lot of kids would kind of roll their eyes like, oh, I don't want my parent to say anything. But we really get some great information from parents. They have a little bit different perspective and look, at you through a different lens. A lot of times they have like amazing quotes that they put in there that will steal, and we'll add that into our letters of recommendation for you. But absolutely, please give this to it. It could be a parent, could be a guardian, whoever you live with that knows you best. Your parents can also work together. We don't need 2 sheets, just one, and they can kind of collaborate. And the parents can send this to us. They could even email us their kind of brag sheet. They don't have to necessarily use this. Just let us know that this is, your name's brag sheet. And they can just type something up and send it to us as well. All right, the next sheet. All right, there's going to be 3 of these. They're the same thing. So we literally call these the blue sheets. These sheets are recommendations that you're going to give to teachers to fill out about you. One thing I do want to make a point to say is that everything in this packet that we're talking about, the only people that they go to are me and Miss Martell. So we are the only ones to see these packets. We're just taking all the information on these packets to be able to write a letter for you, the best letter that we possibly can for our recommendation. So colleges are not seeing this material. It is just us. It's to help us write your letter. So these are referred to as the blue sheet. So teachers are very familiar with you're going to have 3 in which you're going to get these to the teachers to fill out. So what you're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is ask a teacher very politely, excuse me, would you mind filling out the teacher recommendation on this blue sheet and giving it back to guidance for me? And then the teacher can say, oh, sure. Very rarely do we have a teacher that would not do this. The only time that might happen is if they don't quite know you enough to be able to feel like they could write anything. But before you give it to them, you get their permission, and then you need to write your name at the top, colleges that you think you might be applying to, in your intended major. It is perfectly okay if you don't know that yet to put your intended major. You could put undecided. Colleges being applied to, you could put undecided as well. And then where it says teacher input for guidance recommendations, the teacher will fill that out. After you give this to a teacher, you will not see it again. It will go directly to us, but you can check it with us to see if we've received these. Couple tips. If you are planning on going into like a STEM field, a great idea would be to have one of your STEM teachers, whether it's a science or math. If you are, for instance, going into like a liberal arts, an English teacher would be great to fill it out. So somebody even in the field that you're going into would be great. Another thing, you can also, if you have a coach that you would like to have fill that out, they can do that as well. That would be up to you then to get the blue sheets to us. Another thing could also be, we had a student in years past that had worked at the same job for you know, many, many years. So their boss knew them really well in kind of like a leadership capacity. So they had their boss fill it out. And again, that would be up to you to get that back to us. One thing I do want to point out that these blue sheet recommendations are very different than a letter of recommendation. These go directly to us. We're the only ones that see them, and we use them to write your letter. If one of your colleges needs an actual teacher letter of recommendation, that's something separate. That's something that you'll have to go to a teacher and ask, could you please write me a letter of recommendation? Blue sheet recommendation, these just go to us. Letter of recommendation, that's something that you would request from the teacher in a letter form. And your colleges, when you apply, if you look on their websites, they'll let you know what you need. Most colleges just need our recommendation letter, but there are some colleges who request one or two other additional teacher letter of recommendations. So. Anything else to add to that, Ms. Martell?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm gonna make sure.
So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. There is more to your packet, but we will share it when we get there.
Okay, so what we're going to be talking about now is we're going to be talking from this pamphlet that when you get your packet is on the right-hand side. So you'll obviously be able to re-watch this if you missed something or need to go back, but most of what we talked about is included in this pamphlet, so you can go back and look and get some of those questions answered as well. So I'm going to just kind of go through the pamphlet. We already did the first point. The next point is, okay, I handed out these these blue sheet recommendations, which another side note that I wanted to say, as soon as you get those blue sheets, when you come to pick up your packet, please get them out to teachers as soon as possible, because there's the entire senior class who are going to college, those students going to college are also handing those out. So the quicker you get into teachers, the quicker they'll get back to us, and so we'll be able to utilize them to write our letter. All right, so say you figured out where you want to go to college. How do you apply? So pretty much there's a couple different ways. If you are, for instance, going to apply to a community college, our recommendation would be to go right directly to that community college website and apply online. They'll have an apply now application right there. Usually they're pretty quick. Oftentimes you don't need an essay to apply. So that's kind of that piece. If you decided, you know what, I want to go to a four-year college, I am only applying to the University of Maine, which we recommend you try to apply to at least a couple, but if you are dead set that you want to apply to one school, then we're going to suggest that you go to their website and use their application, their school application. Now, if you want to apply to more than one four-year college, our recommendation is for you to use what's called the Common Application. And you'll hear the term Common App, and that's what this is. The Common App is actually, it will show you at the end, but on the back of the pamphlet, it has the website that you would go to create a Common App account, and then kind of go from there and filling it out. So the Common App is kind of a cool program. It's kind of like a one-stop shopping college application process. So they're going to ask you, it is a little bit more time consuming. There's a few sections that there's kind of some profile things, some things that you'll have to say, like about yourself, your parent information, activities that you put in, things that you've done, your grades, your classes. So there are all these things. They'll have different screens and information that you need to input. But then from there, there's also a spot where you would send us an email or teachers an email, and we would upload your recommendation and your transcripts, all those things there. But that's kind of, that's our part of it. the cool thing about it is if I want to, I input all this information and then I'm going to pick and choose and add the colleges that I want this Common App to go to so that I can apply to. So, you know, you put in all your information and then say, okay, I want it sent to Essen and UMaine and Boston University, and you add them on there and boop, 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 it goes to all of those schools. So that's a really cool feature. You write one essay. So in essence, you're not, if I'm applying to 5 schools, I don't have to fill out 5 separate applications. I fill out one application, which is the Common App. I add the schools I want that application to go to, and all that information goes there. My transcript, you know, my grades, my like SAT scores, for instance. So it's a great method to use if you're applying to more than one school. And it's nice because later on, if you wanted to add a couple more colleges on there, you can. One note I will say though is it's great and it will send it to all these colleges, but each college has their own application fees. So it's not free. There are some colleges, for instance, UMaine is a great example. If you apply before December 1st, they don't charge any application fee, so it is free. So some charge fees and some don't. If you have a question about that, come see us and we'll help you navigate and figure that out. Not a big deal. So that's kind of the Common App piece. Like I said, to use that, you'd go to the website that's on the back of this pamphlet. You'll create a quick account and then you'll start working on it. And again, we'll probably have some work sessions for the Common App so we can field any questions or help you walk through that. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head. Keep that in the back of your head that we'll have some work. And you can always call to make an appointment or email us to make an appointment as well. The next thing is just when you are do your application and you're getting ready to hit submit, please proof it. Have somebody put another set of eyes on it, whether it's a parent, a friend, just so that everybody can look and make sure, you know, things are spelled correctly. You're using the right, you know, capitalization. I had a student, true story, very, very bright young man. I was looking over his application and he had spelled his name wrong. I was like, ooh, yeah, we probably want to change that because that's not the best impression to have to call a college to say, yeah, I spelled my name wrong. I need to fix that. So please have another set of eyes on there. Once you've actually submitted an application, what you are going to need to do is come down to the guidance office and you're going to ask Mrs. St. Louis for the gold sheet, and she will know exactly what the gold sheet is. I can't really see it, but it is. And it's basically our only way of knowing that you actually applied. So if every time you apply to a school, say last night I went on the Common App and I applied to 3 schools. The very next day I'm going to come into Mrs. St. Louis's office and I'm going to ask for the gold sheet and I'm going to write those 3 colleges on this sheet. That alerts me and Miss Martell that, okay, now it's time for us to do our job to send your transcripts, to upload, you know, our recommendation letters. So until that gold sheet is done, we don't know that you applied. And Mrs. St. Louis is awesome, and she keeps all the gold sheets and she will track those so we can kind of cross-check what we send and what we need to send. Another thing is, if, say I applied to 3 colleges last night, but 2 days later I want to apply to 2 more colleges, you're going to come back into guidance and you're going to ask for another gold sheet and you're going to fill it out. So every time you apply to a college, you're going to fill out the gold sheet. And I think that's pretty much it. I think now it goes to Miss Martell and she's going to talk a little bit more about, so we've applied, we filled out the gold sheet. Now we're waiting for some acceptances. So Miss Martell's going to talk about that.
Okay, so a couple of things to note first. everything that we shared so far to this point on our, when we shared the screen, your packet needs to be turned in by October 16th. That is the date that we'd like to have them all back, or sooner if you get it done sooner. So if you could make note to turn that into guidance, and you don't have to see one of us when you turn it in, just drop it off. But also, when you do a gold sheet, you need to make sure you're giving us a week notice. So it's very important. Deadlines are firm when it comes to applying to college. So you need to be, we're really good at knowing local deadlines, but we can't know all of them. So you need to know your deadlines. And you need to give us at least a week prior to your deadline to get, to know that you applied and to get your stuff done and in. So now we're going to jump forward. You've applied, you're starting to get your acceptance letters. You're starting to hear back. So when you start getting those letters, you need to bring them into Mrs. St. Louis, and she'll photocopy them and give them back to you. And exciting, you end up on the wall that way if you've seen the guidance bulletin board with all the places students, seniors have been accepted. But also we keep track of that information, and it also makes you eligible for our internal scholarship committee. So we start meeting in the spring, and we award the scholarships that we have connected to our school based on the criteria, but we can only consider students who have been accepted to a college. Even more important, you need to let us know when you decide which college you're going to, which no rush, just let us know as soon as you know. But she'll put a little sticker on the board on the one you have chosen, but also some of our scholarships are specific to certain colleges or majors. So to consider you for those, we need to know that information. And speaking of scholarships, we, I would say focus on applying to college first, and then once you get that taken care of towards the end of the year, beginning of the year, the scholarships really start rolling in. Mrs. St. Louis keeps a board and has a packet that you can come in and get. But you know, scholarships are free money, so we encourage you to spend some time with that. If you apply for a scholarship and you're awarded one outside of school, not one that our committee awards, you need to bring that into us. An email, a letter, something that confirms you were awarded it and how much, and Mrs. St. Louis will copy it and add it to the script for scholarship and award night. If any of you have seen or been to that night, when everybody's awards get announced, that's how it happens. So if we don't have that information from you, it cannot be announced. All of those need to be in by June 4th to make sure that they're compiled in time for awards night. That also applies to award or scholarships that you get from the college you're going to go to. Sometimes on your acceptance letter, they will have that information, and other times it'll come in a separate letter, but you need to bring that in so we can include that in the announcements.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about SATs. Standardized testing is kind of a little bit different at colleges this year. There are many colleges that are waiving SAT scores. So what that means is they're not, you don't have to send them your SAT scores to be considered for admissions. You know, UMaine and Husson are two of those colleges, and there's many more. If you go on the college websites, the college, those specific colleges, usually right on even their front page, it'll tell you if they're using SATs for admissions or if they've waived that requirement. A little catch, though, that I want to talk about is not all colleges have waived the SAT as a requirement for their merit scholarships. One college off the top of my head that I know has is Husson. So Husson University, you can receive merit scholarships, which merit scholarships are scholarships where it's based on how you did in school. So like your classes, your GPA, class rank, those types of things. So that's a merit scholarship. So Husson, you don't need to hand in SAT scores, and you'll still be considered for admission and for their scholarships. UMaine, on the other hand, until they change their mind otherwise, you don't need the SAT scores for admission, but you do need them in order to get some of their merit scholarships. They have kind of different levels, and depending upon your score, it might earn you more money. So if you haven't taken the SAT because COVID, we all were supposed to take it last spring, never fear. If you missed the August one, we are going to have it in November. We're hosting it here. You will need to go onto your College Board account to sign up for that and pay for that. However, I do want to kind of put a note in, anyone who is free or reduced lunch, or even just, your family's having kind of a financial hardship right now, please let me and Miss Martell know, because we do have some waivers, so we can waive that fee for the SAT so you can take that. We don't want that to be a barrier at all for anybody. So just let us know and we can help. We can also help with if you forgot your College Board account or how to sign up. Send us an email and we can help you sign up for the SATs. We can help with that process. And now Ms. Martell is going to talk a little bit about the college essay, which kind of is, I don't know, the biggest pain for some students in the whole application process.
So we'll show you the rest of the packet when I share my screen in just a few minutes, but in there we have provided the Common App essay prompts. So I think there's 6 specific prompts, and then the 7th one is basically you can write about whatever you want. We often suggest just brainstorm and pick a topic, start writing, write your essay, because it'll fit somewhere. So have your essay and then plug it into a prompt, because you always have that last one that can fit it no matter what. So try to see this as a positive opportunity to write about yourself. The essay is a piece where the college wants to see from you who you are. They want to see your personality or an experience or what your strengths are, stuff that they wouldn't see on your transcript. So whatever you pick for a topic, keep that in mind, that you don't want to be talking about stuff that they can see in other parts of your application necessarily. So take time to go beyond the obvious, try to make it unique to yourself, and they read a lot of essays, so try to make yours stand out and specific to you. Some things to stay away from. This year especially, we've heard from colleges they don't want you to write about COVID because everybody kind of has experienced this together. The Common App is likely to have a section where if you've had a standout experience, something, if it's really impacted you in a certain way, you can explain it there versus your essay. Also, they get a ton of essays about like sports cliches, and I know it's really important. It's a big part of high school, but it's so common. It's something that we would advise you not to write about, unless there's, which you can ask Mrs. Ketch or myself to run an idea by us, but unless there's something stand out about it, we would stay away from how this one game or this big loss, it changed your life. But also stay away from love life, illegal activity, essays that are too much of a sob story, the really negative. If they walk away just feeling really down or negative from your essay, that's not a good thing. Not to say that a tragic or negative experience in your life can't be written about. A lot of times that's a great essay, but you have to wrap it back to something positive, how it impacted you, how it changed you, how it made you who you are. Same thing with if you're writing about a role model or hero or something, this isn't a time to tell a story about them. You can explain why they're that role for you, but it's got to be about you. So some things to consider there. And then very important, make sure you're editing your essay and having somebody else edit it as well. You need another set of eyes. We can read your essay for content and to see if it, is a good college application essay, but we also encourage maybe asking an English teacher to look at it for those pieces. And then something to keep in mind, oftentimes your word maximum for an essay is 650. That sounds like a lot, but often it's not. We can help you trim that up if you need to. And then I think that's really it with the essay. Like I said, the prompts are in the other side of the packet, which we will show you.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to, like I said, we're going to try to maybe have a couple sessions, but feel free if you want to set eyes on your essay. We're really good with looking for kind of content and be able to give you feedback about that. Your English teacher is a great resource to kind of ask them if they would mind looking over it for grammar and things like that. Just to put those second set of eyes on there. So. I talked a little bit already about kind of recommendations and the blue sheets versus a letter of recommendation. Just a little tip, if you do need a teacher to write an actual letter of recommendation, you might want to give them like an academic resume or the sheet, even a copy of the sheet in your packet where it has where you list all your activities and things that you've done, just so they can get a broad perspective on what you're doing. Another tip for recommendations, this is for the blue sheets and your letter of recommendations. You want to really try to stick to your junior and senior teachers. Not that you didn't have an awesome experience maybe with a freshman teacher. However, they really would prefer those teachers you've had in the latter part of high school because they're a little bit more relevant. So just kind of keep that in mind. And just like us, you need to give teachers, if you need a letter of recommendation, you really need to ask politely, obviously. I mean, if they agree to that, you really need to kind of follow up yourself. We won't follow up on that for you. You're going to need to follow up and give them enough time. Give them at least a week, to write this. Don't try to give them, hey, can you write me this letter of recommendation and you need it by the next day, because that probably is not going to happen. There's a lot on their plates as well. And, just like us, they're going to want to write a really good letter for you. So you need to give us the time to do that. And again, I just want to stress that these packets, and once you get your folder, you'll see on the left-hand side that those things that need to get back to us, we want them all together. So for instance, this sheet, your activity sheet, the information for recommendations, this is kind of definitely personalized to you. Those things need to be stapled together, and those things need to get to us by October 16th. Because that's what, as soon as, or before, as soon as we get those, we will start writing your letters of recommendation. So if you don't give us your packet, if you don't turn your senior packet in, we will not write a letter until we get that information. Or what you will get from us is a very generic letter that isn't personalized. It will say kind of just the facts, so-and-so is expected to graduate from Old Town High School on this date, this is their class rank, this is their GPA, thank you very much. So we don't want to write those letters. That's why we make you go through this part and get them to us, because we want to write the best, most personalized letter that we can for you. And in order for us to do that, you're going to need to do your part and fill these out. Get them back to us October 16th or before. Yeah, and that's pretty much the packet itself. Ms. Martell is going to talk a little bit about getting some help. We've kind of hinted at this before, but.
And a lot of times students will ask about seeing our recommendation letter. Did you hit on that, Ms. Ketch?
No, I didn't. Thank you. Go ahead. And
so we are ethically and professionally bound not to share the letter if you waive your right to see your letter, which we encourage, because that's what colleges really want to see from you. They want to know that the letters of recommendation that are coming in on your behalf are true and accurate, and that there isn't a situation like you see in the news where we've been threatened or paid off or anything like that. So If you don't waive your right, and there's a possibility that you've read it, it does raise a little bit of a red flag to the college, wondering why that was important to you. So they would like you to waive your right, and we encourage that. And once you do, we have to uphold that. And also know that a lot of times that letter we also use for scholarship recommendations. We just tweak it. So even when it comes to you asking for a letter for that, it's the same standard that you wouldn't be able to see it. So we'll mail it out for you, or we can give it to you all stamped and sealed and secure. But we get that question a lot, so there's the answer to that. And then the other piece is we want you to know that this video is not the only help you're going to get. In fact, we want to meet with each senior at least once, whether you're going on to college or not. We want to know your plan. We want to help you through the process. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. We could meet once, which is the minimum, or we could meet 5 or 10 times, whatever you need. But please make sure to email us or Mrs. St. Louis to get an appointment with Mrs. Ketch or myself to do your senior meeting at least once.
And the only other thing I see is the financial aid help. So Old Town High School we're partnered with financial aid kind of partner. Her name is Meredith Lee, and she actually works in the financial aid office at UMaine. But regardless of whether you go to UMaine, it's no matter where you go, she will help. She does virtual appointments in half-hour increments, where she can sit down with, or virtually sit down with students and their parents and do what's called the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. And this is, the FAFSA is something that if you're going to college, you're required to fill out, and this is what's going to give you some more money and help to pay for college. You might qualify for some grants, which are opportunities for you to receive money and not have to pay them back. Or they may be loans to just kind of help cover or offset the cost that isn't covered by maybe some merit scholarships or other things. Unlike merit scholarships, financial aid, any financial aid package that a school offers you is based on financial need. So a student and a parent's financial need. Usually we hold a FAFSA financial aid night. We are not doing that here at Old Town High School this year, but we have sent out links. Mrs. Amy Ketch has sent out links to parents. An organization called FAME, which is who used to come into the high school to do these nights for us, have several different options for financial aid sessions, and they're all online, they're virtual sessions. So same thing as we would deliver here at Old Town High School, except they're virtual, and parents would need to go to the link and sign on. And we did send that information out to parents, but very, very important to do. And they can they'll walk you through that process of what is the FAFSA, how do we do it, and then we can follow up by, if you or your parents want a virtual appointment with Meredith Lee to help you actually sit down and do that FAFSA, email Mrs. St. Louis and she'll help, or us, and we'll help set that up and connect you.
All right, well, I will share my screen again and show you the rest of your packet. So on the right side of your packet is information that you do not need to turn in. It's just resources and information. So on the top of the right side, you'll see the page that I'm sharing now. It's information for you to fill out your application, because these questions will be asked of you in your application. And then you have Mrs. Ketch and my information right there, because you'll need that. They'll need to know your counselor, but also you'll need it to invite us to send our recommendation. But that's a good resource to have handy when you do your application. And then the next couple of pages are Common App resources that came from them, just giving you some ideas of what information and materials you might want handy when you go to apply, some tips and best practices, a quick guide to the application, meaning the different sections that are within the application. So just some resources for you to review. The Common App is a little bit lengthy, so it is something you can start and go save and go back to. And there's also information about fees, because you do have to pay the application fees through Common App. And we do have waivers for college application fees as well. And then there's the sheet in here as a reminder about the SAT dates and deadlines. ACT is another test. It's not very common around here, but there's some dates if you were interested in attempting that test. And then the Common App essay prompts, which I referenced, that is in that side of the packet as well. And then there is a resource, just a sample. We really encourage you to keep track of your deadlines and stay very organized through this process. So this is just one way to keep yourself organized if you want to use that. And then of course the brochure, which we've referenced throughout, that kind of recaps all of this information.
So that being said, we're done our presentation. However, just a reminder that now that you've listened, the first thing that you need to do is stop down to guidance and ask Mrs. St. Louis or us to pick up your college, your senior seminar folder, okay, which is what this is. And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to get those blue sheets, those 3 teacher recommendation blue sheets out as soon as possible. And again, just to reiterate, deadlines, deadlines, deadlines. Your packet is due October 16th. Just come to guidance, drop it off. And again, those of you who are all virtual, please, please, please email, if your last name is L through Z, email Miss Martell. And if your last name is A through K, email me so we can connect on how we get our packets to you. And that is it. And at any time, if you're stuck in the packet or you have questions or something's confusing, email us. We'll make an appointment. We'll do it virtual or do it in person, whatever works for you.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Good luck. We're excited to go on the journey with you. See you later.